Hey there, and welcome to another deep dive.
Get ready to explore a potential revolution in the classroom.
Virtual labs.
We're not talking about those clunky simulations you might remember from school, though.
Right.
This is next-level stuff.
It really is remarkable how technology is.
Hmm.
It's really reshaping the way we learn.
Our focus today is on Eon Reality.
And their big announcement about a new platform for virtual labs.
They're claiming this tech could be the biggest shakeup in science education.
Wow. Maybe since the invention of the Bunsen burner.
That's a bold claim.
We'll see if they can live up to that.
It is a bold claim, for sure. And their press release doesn't shy away from the hype.
They certainly don't.
But before we dive into all the dazzling detail...
I'm curious about the why here.
Okay.
What's the big problem Eon Reality is claiming to solve?
Think back to your own science classes. Remember, like, the cramped labs?
Yeah.
The safety goggles that never quite fit right?
Mm-hmm.
The sheer panic when an experiment went off script? Traditional science education has always been held back by these limitations. Not every school can afford the latest and greatest equipment, and even then, there are only so many students you can safely squeeze around a lab bench.
It's true.
Resources were definitely limited at my high school.
We were lucky if our microscopes didn't date back to the Stone Age.
Yeah.
And don't even get me started on the time our volcano experiment turned into a baking soda eruption of epic proportions
Oh, no.
all over Mr. Thompson's prized periodic table.
And that's exactly what Eon Reality is trying to address.
They're saying, what if you could run any experiment, no matter how complex or potentially dangerous, from anywhere with no risk? And what if you could manipulate variables on the fly and see the results instantly?
Okay.
Now that you mentioned manipulating variables,
I got our ass.
how does that actually work in their platform?
Are we talking about virtual knobs and dials?
Dragging and dropping chemicals.
Something straight out of a sci-fi movie.
Well, according to their press release, the software lets you adjust parameters with remarkable precision and see the effects ripple through the experiment in real time.
Okay.
So instead of waiting for a reaction to happen over hours or even days.
You're seeing the impact of your changes instantly.
Right.
That sounds like it could be a game changer for understanding those cause and effect relationships that are so fundamental to science.
Precisely. Eon Reality is really emphasizing how this real-time feedback loop can accelerate learning and lead to a deeper understanding of scientific concepts.
It makes sense.
If you can immediately see the consequences of tweaking a variable.
The concept is going to stick with you a lot better than just reading about it in a textbook.
Right. But let's get specific.
What kind of science are we talking about here?
Are we limited to mixing chemicals in virtual beakers?
Or can we explore a black hole without getting sucked in?
That's what's so intriguing about their platform. They're claiming to cover a vast range of subjects, from basic chemistry to advanced physics, even astronomy. Theoretically,
You could go from dissecting a frog in one moment to
I don't know.
building a virtual robot in the next.
Exactly.
The possibilities seem almost limitless. They even mention simulations that let you travel through the human body or explore different ecosystems. It's all about making science more tangible, more engaging.
I have to admit.
The idea of shrinking down to the size of a cell and taking a tour of the human body does sound a lot more exciting than staring at a diagram in a textbook.
But how do they make these simulations feel real?
Yeah, VR is
Come a long way.
But it's not quite the same as the real deal.
Right.
You're right. VR technology still has its limitations. You can't perfectly replicate the feeling of holding a scalpel or the subtle smells of a real-world lab environment. At least not yet.
Right.
But from what I've read, Eon Reality is leveraging high-fidelity graphics and spatial audio to create an incredibly immersive experience.
There. You're saying they're focusing on tricking the senses to make you feel like you're really there.
Right.
Even if you can't, say,
Yeah.
feel the texture of a rock sample.
Exactly. They're trying to recreate that sense of presence and immersion that's so crucial for effective learning. But remember, this isn't just about replicating the real world. It's about going beyond those limitations.
Okay. I like where you're going with this. So
Yeah.
it's not just about making a virtual frog look exactly like a real frog. It's about being able to peel back its layers, zoom in on its organs, and maybe even see its blood flow in action. All things you couldn't do with a scalpel in a traditional classroom setting.
Precisely. It's about giving students X-ray vision, the ability to slow down time, to rewind and repeat experiments at will, essentially becoming masters of their own virtual universe.
That actually reminds me of my physics class. We were learning about projectile motion. And let me tell you, Launching those tennis balls across the classroom was more chaotic than enlightening. If only we could have rewound the experiment, adjusted the launch angle, and actually seen the trajectory line in midair.
I might have actually enjoyed physics for once.
You've hit on a key point there. Traditional labs often involve a lot of trial and error, which can be frustrating for students. But with virtual labs, that experimentation becomes a lot less intimidating and a lot more engaging.
Yeah.
Students can test out different hypotheses, see how changing variables affects the outcome, and learn from their mistakes in a safe and controlled environment.
So it's kind of like having unlimited do-overs.
Yeah.
No more fear of messing up the experiment or running out of time to get it right.
Exactly. And because these simulations are digital, they can collect and analyze data with a level of precision that's often impossible in the real world.
Wow.
Imagine being able to track the exact trajectory of that tennis ball, measure its velocity at every point, and even factor in things like air resistance, all at the click of a button.
That's incredible. It's like having a super-powered lab assistant crunching all the numbers for you in real time. But let's talk about the elephant in the room: cost. VR headsets are not exactly known for being cheap. So how does Eon Reality justify the investment?
That's a valid concern. But Eon Reality argues that their platform can actually save schools money in the long run.
Really?
I'm all ears.
Think about it. No more buying expensive lab equipment that becomes outdated or breaks down. No more ordering hazardous chemicals or worrying about disposal costs. And let's not forget the potential savings on field trips.
So instead of shipping a busload of kids to the zoo,
Yeah?
you could send them on a virtual safari through the African savannah.
Exactly.
I could see how that would be appealing to school administrators, especially those working with tight budgets.
Exactly. And beyond the financial aspect, there are significant benefits in terms of accessibility.
Yeah.
Imagine students in remote areas or those with physical disabilities who might not otherwise have access to traditional labs suddenly. They're transported to the Amazon rainforest, exploring the ecosystem in a way that was previously unimaginable.
You're right. That's a huge point. Virtual labs could democratize science education, making it accessible to students regardless of their background or physical limitations. Okay, so we've covered the wow factor, but Eon Reality's press release also mentions something called AI-assisted virtual reality. What's that all about?
That's where things get really interesting.
AI in my virtual reality.
It sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie.
What's the deal here?
Is it like having a virtual lab partner who can finish my sentences?
And maybe my experiments.
It's not quite that advanced yet. But it's definitely a glimpse into the future of personalized learning. Imagine having a virtual tutor who can guide you through experiments, offer hints, and tailor the experience to your individual learning style instead of just following a pre-programmed script.
The AI can adjust the difficulty level, throw in some curveballs.
Maybe even offer a virtual high five when you nail that tricky concept.
You got it. It's all about making the learning experience more adaptive and engaging. For example, let's say you're struggling with a particular concept, like cellular respiration. The AI could detect your confusion and offer additional explanations. Maybe even switch up the visualization to help you grasp it from a different angle.
Okay, so it's like having a personalized tutor who can see when you're getting that glazed over look and knows exactly how to bring you back from the brink of boredom.
Right.
Sign me up.
But how does this AI actually work in practice?
Well, it all comes down to data. The AI algorithms can track your progress, analyze your responses, and identify patterns in your learning. It's like having a virtual lab partner who's taking meticulous notes on your every move. But instead of judging your clumsiness with a beaker, it's using that information to help you succeed.
That's pretty amazing.
So as I'm fumbling my way through a virtual dissection,
the AI is collecting data points, figuring out my strengths and weaknesses, and constantly adjusting the experience to maximize my learning potential.
Exactly.
Sounds a bit Big Brother, but in a good way, I guess.
That's a fair point. There are definitely ethical considerations to address when it comes to data privacy and algorithmic bias, but for now, let's focus on the potential benefits.
Sounds good to me. So we've gone from dissecting virtual frogs to having our every move analyzed by AI. This deep dive has taken us on quite a journey, but before we wrap things up,
I want to bring it back to the bigger picture. What does all of this mean for the future of science education?
To me, it signals a paradigm shift. It's about moving away from rote memorization and passive learning towards a more hands-on, inquiry-based approach. It's about empowering students to become active learners, to explore their curiosity, and to develop a deeper understanding of the world around them.
I love that, empowering students to become scientists in their own right.
No more sterile classrooms and prepackaged experiments. It's about giving them the tools to ask their own questions.
Yeah.
Design their own experiments.
Yeah.
And discover the answers for themselves.
Exactly. And let's not forget the potential impact beyond the classroom. Imagine virtual labs being used to train surgeons, engineers. The possibilities are endless.
It's mind-blowing to think about. So the next time you're reading about a scientific breakthrough or watching a documentary about the cosmos, remember, you might not just be reading or watching. You might be experiencing it firsthand in a virtual world.
It's an exciting time to be a learner.
It certainly is.
Yeah.
And who knows, maybe one day we'll even have those virtual lab partners who can finish our sentences. And maybe our experiments, too. That's it for today's deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep into the world of knowledge.